Welcome to Pop Culture Roulette for all your pop culture needs. We're America's podcast. Alright, welcome everybody to a extremely rare episode of Pop Culture Roulette. An in-person episode that we haven't done in a while, where all three of us are in the same room. So welcome Jeremy.
Hello.
Welcome Justin.
Hello. Man, it's kind of weird too when we have all three of us for consecutive episodes. In person, even stranger.
Right, I know.
We got tired of Jeremy getting kidnapped, so we just showed up to his house.
Right, figured
That's
if
one
maybe
way.
strength in numbers.
Yeah.
Like, they can't get us all.
That's right.
I mean, it is EA. They're probably powerful enough to
They
get us all.
probably could.
Oh, yeah.
Did you buy Madden like you said, or
I did. I'm sad to say I did, and I immediately regret it. It's the same old pile of dog shit.
all right?
I didn't even buy NCAA yet.
I have not bought NCAA yet either, but
It's
Kind
fun.
of waiting for everyone to go back to school, so I have those 2 days by myself. You get it. Where I can just sit down and actually play games and not feel like guilty about it.
Sure.
understand. But I figured, well, so the last episode we did, we started the episode talking about how much of a giant mistake I made.
Right.
That giant mistake was I had built the bracket for today's episode. I had it all done. It was all great. Everything was set. All I had to do was print it. And I said, I'll print this tomorrow. Apparently, I forgot to hit the save button. So the next day when I went to print it, it was gone. And because I'm a procrastinator, I was trying to print it out 10 to 15 minutes before we were set to record. So you got an old school episode, which I thought was a pretty good episode. It was a lot of fun. It definitely harkened back to the old days of Pop Culture Roulette when we used to be together in the same room all the time.
With
Yeah.
nothing to talk about, so we just went on a prayer.
Yeah.
Right. And
What did you do last week?
So, but I figured it's time to finally tackle one of our favorite actors, one of Justin's favorite actors of all time, and we're gonna do an Arnold bracket.
Yay.
So
All
Arnold
right.
Schwarzenegger, the man himself.
The man, the myth, the legend.
All right, so he's done a handful of movies. I left off anything where he was basically a cameo. So like Expendables 1, where he just shows up and has like a line and then leaves. That's not on here. But he was in Expendables 2 quite a bit, so that one is. Or like The Running Man, not The Running Man, that's the one he's actually in. The Rundown, where like The Rock walks by him and just gives him like a nod and a wink. Like, that's not on here because I don't even remember. Did he speak in The Rundown?
I don't think he did.
Yeah, so-
I haven't seen that movie in so long, but I don't remember him having
Yeah,
any
so
lines.
he had no. So I left those off. But it left us with a handful more than 32. And because I'm a cheap bastard, I still have not paid for our sponsor of BracketHQ.com. And I only have the ability to go up to 32. So we got a bit of a play-in bracket. So we got to do some pre-work before we actually get to the bracket. So basically I let the bottom four movies. So we had 32, so it was... I have to do math, and I shouldn't try to do that on air. If we have 32 movies and there's three more, so that would be 35.
Yeah, 32
Okay.
and 3 is 35.
So Arnold has done 35 movies if you don't include the cameos.
Okay.
So these are the bottom four movies,
According to our...
according to our system of Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and Metacritic. So the bottom... So the play-in bracket goes as follows. You've got the movie called Iron Mask. Yeah,
No idea.
okay. He did it with Jackie Chan in the last few years. It has pretty low ratings.
The last few years?
Yeah, like relatively recently. Then you've got... That has a 103. Remember everything being on a scale of 300. Then you have Batman and Robin,
Oh, no.
which has a score of 79. So that's our first play-in game.
God.
I think I know how we're voting for this one, and it pains me to say that we have to vote for it.
Yeah, I think
Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ice to meet you.
All
Something
right.
to chill.
And then we have his very first movies, one called The Villain, where he played a man. His character name was the Man in the Black Hat or something like that. I'm not even sure he barely spoke English in that movie. But it had a score of 75. It actually had a Metacritic score of 0. I didn't have to...
Ooh.
A Rotten Tomato score of 0. I didn't have to, like, do what I have to do when there's not a Rotten Tomato score. It literally, the critics was 0.
So that would have been 75 out of 200 if you don't count that. So that's not terrible.
Well, no, it's 75 out of 300.
Well, I was saying
because
if you take off
yeah,
the
no,
one that had no score.
no, it had a score. It had a score of 0.
Oh.
And then you have his very first movie called Hercules in New York, which had a score of 70, and it had a Rotten Tomato score. So,
Well, I haven't seen either of
Yeah.
these.
neither have I.
But Hercules in New York sounds fascinating.
Okay, Hercules in
God,
New
I
York.
figure whatever wins this play-in is going to go lose the Batman and Robin anyways.
Yeah, basically, and then I'm pretty sure Batman and Robin's going to lose what it goes up against first. So,
Probably get bounced. So should we just move Batman and Robin into the
absolutely, Batman.
into the tournament because we've seen it?
Yes, Batman and Robin it is. So Batman goes into the bracket. So that gets us to our first real matchup.
All right,
Of-
let the bracket begin.
Let the games begin! Hey!
So the number one, which should be of no surprise. Can you see the page from where you're sitting?
Not well enough to read it.
Okay. What do you think the number one Arnold Schwarzenegger movie is?
Number one, and this is based on the
Based on
criteria
the-
of
yeah.
the critics. Oh God.
So this would be like number one best or number one worst?
Number one best.
Number
Like
one
this
best.
this has
Okay, yeah.
the highest score of all 35 movies.
Okay.
Oh man. I'm trying to
Maybe
go
like
through some of his movies. Yeah.
Predator.
I don't think that would be there.
Predator is in the top. I think it's number 5. Yes.
And this is the critics. The critics like it. So
Well,
it
I
doesn't
mean-
always align with us.
Correct, but I think this one might. It has. I mean, you got to remember it has the IMDb score, which is kind of critics and people because they.
Oh, Terminator.
There you
Terminator
go.
2, or even
nice.
Terminator.
Yeah.
Terminator is actually ahead of Terminator 2, surprisingly enough. Terminator actually has a 100 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
Wow,
It's
perfect
the
score.
it's the first time I've ever seen that on anything. So it has a 265, which is pretty amazing considering Hercules in New York had a 70. So we now have the Terminator. Remember the first one
Got it.
going up against Batman and Robin.
Jeez.
It's nice to be invited, but I'm out. It's the Terminator for me.
Totally.
All right, that's kind of what I figured.
The amount of Arnold one-liners we can make during this whole episode
can't
it's
wait.
going to be amazing.
Yeah, I mean he's like the. I was doing an episode that will be coming out shortly for 80s Flashback called The Running Man, and that was like the whole thing. Like all he did the whole movie was just give one-liners. Like
Could almost do like a one-liner bracket.
Yeah. All right, so the next one we've got Eraser versus Escape Plan.
What's the scores on them if you have that stuff? Quickly
Eraser would be a 161. Escape Plan would be 166. So this is kind of your middle of the road. Escape Plan was the one he did with Sylvester Stallone, where they both end up in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Eraser was the one he did with Vanessa Williams, with like the futuristic guns. He was like a CIA. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't remember. It was.
I love Escape Plan. I thought it was actually a really solid movie. I remember like when it came out getting on a soapbox about it because all the critics were shitting on it. And I'm like, this is like the movie of the year. You guys don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I think movie of the year was a bit of a stretch even when that movie came out, but I saw Escape Plan in theaters. I liked it. I thought it was really good.
All right.
That's the one with Curtis Jackson.
Yes.
Previously.
Yeah.
50 Cent.
Yep, that was. I also enjoyed Escape Plan. I remember seeing Eraser, but I don't remember very much past the fact that I remember seeing it. So I guess Escape Plan it is. All right. Now we have Commando, which is gonna have a 185, versus Raw Deal, which is going to have a 131.
It's Raw Deal.
Raw Deal is an 80s. It's one of his earlier movies. It came out in the same time frame as Predator and Running Man, and like it was they all kind of came out right around the same time.
Okay.
In fact, I think this is relatively time ordered when I wrote them down because I just went off IMDb, so they would have been one right after another. It's kind of forgettable. I think it's the one he did with James Belushi. And then Commando, he was John Matrix, and I think that was like one of Alyssa Milano's first movies.
Yeah. I'm going with Commando.
Okay.
I really like that. That's the one where he throws the pipe to the guy and tells him to let off some steam.
Let off some steam, Bennett.
Yeah.
He's hanging the guy from the cliff.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll kill you last. Just lets him go.
I lied.
I lied.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Hell yeah.
Arnold, the more Arnold movies I watch and the more I was doing this bracket, that was what came very clear, is that Arnold is the king of the one-liner. So, Commando?
Yeah.
All right.
That's a really good movie.
Let's watch it.
All right.
Yeah, I might have
All
to
right,
be
bracket
going
off.
on-
We're going to go watch
I might
Commando.
have to be going on kind of an Arnold binge here.
I kind of figured you were always on an Arnold binge.
That's
so.
true.
All right. Now we're to Expendables 3, which has a 128, versus Terminator Dark Fate, which has a 186.
Is Dark Fate the new? No, that's not the newest one.
Yes.
The newest.
Newest one, yeah.
All right.
Because, like I said, they're kind of in order, and since that one's at the top of the list, and it's in the 8th spot, so it's in the top 10 of score wise.
Because the other one I was confusing that with, I think, is what Genesis is
Yes.
the one with Emily, whatever her name is from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Clark. Okay.
Right. Dark Fate's the one where Linda Hamilton comes back.
Okay. And that's Escape versus Expendables 3?
Yes, Expendables 3.
Is that Mel? No, it's not Mel Gibson one.
I think, isn't that the one where Jean-Claude Van Damme is the bad guy?
I think it's with Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, Antonio Banderas. Yeah.
Antonio Banderas steals that movie.
Yeah.
He's the best part of that movie. Who's going to start this one off?
You can start.
All right. I really like the Expendables franchise. Terminator franchise is good too. I didn't think that Terminator movie was that good, so I'm going with Expendables 3 on this one.
All right. I didn't hate Dark Fate the way that I did Genesis, and we'll get to that one shortly. I do remember enjoying Expendables 3, so I don't really know what to vote for. But I guess just to make things difficult for the first time, I'm going to go Dark Fate.
Okay. Well, I'll say Expendables 3.
Okay.
Have you seen either of those two movies?
I definitely saw Expendables 3, but I don't think I saw Dark Fate.
This one's going to be hard for Justin to vote in.
I think a couple of those are.
We have Predator with a 205, puts us at the 5th movie, versus a criminally underthought of movie and somehow 28th on the bracket. Jingle All the Way with a 112.
Oh, criminally underrated.
Criminally underrated. And also very hard to vote again at this stage of the bracket because Predator is excellent. Predator's got a lot of really good one-liners. It's a good movie. But Jingle All the Way, I mean, we've talked about it. I know that we tend to be more of a Halloween-based podcast, but I know that both of you love Jingle All the Way.
It's amazing.
It's in my Christmas rotation.
It is also in my Christmas rotation.
God.
I'll start.
Can I just be left alone here?
Jingle All the Way.
Okay.
Watch it way more than Predator.
Using that qualification, then yes, I would have to go for Jingle All the Way because I do watch it every year, or Predator I only watch every couple years.
Is that what you're voting?
I think so, yeah.
I would have voted for Predator. I really like that. I got the wooden Predator mask hanging on my wall in the basement.
Yeah.
That I don't remember which shop I got that at. So between those two, I would go with Predator. But either way, I'm not mad.
All right, and then I think this one's going to be a real easy vote because until I was doing this bracket, I had never even heard of this movie. Why We're Killing Gunther with a 147. It's at 21 versus Running Man at 12, which has got a 178.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an easy
Okay,
one.
all right. Kind of figured that Running Man was going to.
I did mean to watch that one before we recorded.
Gunther.
Yeah,
You know what it's about?
I never got around to it.
No idea. I'm assuming it's about killing a guy named Gunther.
Makes sense.
It's probably not anything about that. The title just throws you for a loop.
All right. Now we are at The Last Stand, which has got a 178,
Okay.
versus The Sixth Day, which has a 148.
148.
Last Stand is the one he did with Knoxville?
Yep. Where he was like the cop and like the town.
Yeah,
being
the new
overrun.
sheriff.
Yeah.
And then, which is it? What is it against?
The Sixth Day.
That was more of that dark, suspenseful one, I believe.
No, that's End of Days. Sixth Day is the clone one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
That's a good one.
I'm going to go with The Last Stand.
Okay.
It had a couple moments where it was pretty good. Johnny Knoxville's not a great actor, but he has his moments.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that, but I like The Sixth Day.
I'm gonna go Sixth Day as well. I remember going and seeing that in the theaters and it being fun. Like, I mean, it's a silly Arnold movie, but you know.
You didn't think Last Stand was fun?
I mean, I watched it on Netflix or whatever. It was okay. Like, I didn't hate it, but I think I remember liking Sixth Day more. All right, here's the unofficial trilogy of the Conan movies because they lost the rights to call him Conan, but he was clearly playing Conan, just not called it. Red Sonja, 107, so pretty low rated, versus a movie that's going to trounce it, True Lies, number 4 on the list, with a 206.
Yeah.
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 Some of the underdogs we actually are like, that movie's way better. And then sometimes they get it right.
All right.
Yeah.
Total Recall, number 3 on the list, 217, versus Collateral Damage, 107, number 30 on the list.
I think that's another trouncing.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it went against that in the first round. Like Total Recall, because I really like it. And there's some movies, though, where I was like,
Get your ass to Mars.
Get your ass to Mars.
I don't want to see that go against some of these other high-powered ones. How long is he going to Mars for? 3 weeks?
I don't know. I can't remember. But, you know, there was a chick with 3 boobs, so, you know. Should I just write Total Recall?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
all right.
so.
I mean, that's.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
2 of us were voting for it. I just didn't
Yeah,
know.
I'll go for that one.
Have you ever even seen Collateral Damage?
No.
Okay. Which one was Collateral Damage?
I don't remember which one that is.
Okay, all right. I think that was like. He was like a government operative of some. I don't know.
That could be most of these.
Yeah, that is true. All right. A movie that I find to be criminally underrated, but we're probably still not going to vote for it, versus Last Action Hero, which is got a 151, so pretty much dead center, even though it's 19 on the list, versus Kindergarten Cop, which is
Ooh.
177.
God, this is a tough one.
That is tough.
This is tough.
Yeah, they're solid. Both solid films.
Now, I know that people hated Last Action Hero at the time. I think that's one of those movies that people have kind of come around on because I think they marketed it poorly, like kind of like Cable Guy and some of the other stuff. Like, they're like, oh, it's Arnold. It's a big-time action movie. And then, like, you go see it, and it's, like, this really, like, subversive parody. And, like, people are like, well, that's not what I thought I was coming to see, so they hated it. But now on subsequent viewings, or now that there's a few years past, you're like, oh, that's actually pretty brilliant.
Yeah.
But Kindergarten Cop is not a tumor.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
We're going to play a wonderful game called Who is My Daddy and What Does He Do?
I remember I really liked The Last Action Hero when I was a kid. I watched that movie all the time on VHS. Because that was in 94, 3, 4, something in that general
around
range.
there.
Like, I think that's with like Jack the Ripper coming out of the movie and all that. Like,
Yeah.
that was a really good underrated one. I'm gonna go with not voting until later.
I mean, this is tough because
Yes.
I like Last Action Hero a lot, but I think I like Kindergarten Cop just a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of feeling that way too. Like Kindergarten Cop edges it out slightly.
Yeah, Kindergarten Cop's a little
Just-
more iconic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it doesn't take anything. I mean, Last Action Hero is.
Now, if Last Action Hero was up against some of these other ones, it'd be moving on. But it just,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
Yeah.
the way that the cookie crumbles, sometimes it loses.
but it's glad to hear that we all liked Last Action Hero.
All right,
Like, we're not just like, oh, like a lot of people didn't, like you said.
right.
I've always liked that one.
All right. Now we're at number 11, Conan the Barbarian, which I believe is the second one,
I think that's the one he did with Andre
possibly.
and Wilt Chamberlain, I think, was Barbarian.
Versus the weirdest movie on the list, which is saying something for Arnold, Junior,
Oh my god!
with a 145.
The weirdest thing about that movie is like they didn't lean hard enough into the comedy. Like it was just like they're trying to be really serious at certain points, and it was like, what is this?
It's been so long since I've seen that movie, I barely even remember it. I think it's got the iconic cover of
Yeah.
Arnold pregnant. Because, I guess they were like, we're going to make a man pregnant in a movie, and it's going to be, like, we're going to go out and get the manliest man around at the time. And you're just like, I never understood why they made it, or I don't know. It's a weird movie versus Conan the Barbarian.
There's a great one-liner in that Junior where he's like, "My body, my choice."
Okay.
I'm voting Junior.
Okay.
I'm going Conan.
I'm also going Conan.
Junior, I didn't really care for it. I don't know.
All right. This one is going to be interesting because I'm going to go ahead and assume that at least one of us has never heard of the movie. Sabotage with a 119, which I think is the one that I'm always getting confused with Collateral Damage, versus Terminator 3, which somehow is in the top 10 with a 199.
Wow.
I gotta see which movie that was. Which movie is Sabotage?
Okay, so two of us have never heard of Sabotage. I feel like I remember seeing it. I feel like Collateral Damage and Sabotage are the two movies of all of his that I get confused the most, but I could be wrong. I also assumed that it would lose against Terminator 3, so I didn't research it too much.
That's fair.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Because, I figured you'd seen Sabotage.
I might have. I've seen a bunch of movies. I don't really remember the names of them, but yeah, if it doesn't pop into my head right away.
Okay, so Terminator 3 it is. Okay. Here we go. Number 7, Red Heat, which is what I think I maybe got Raw Deal confused with. But it's number 7, 199, versus Terminator Genesis, which in my book is the worst of all the Terminator movies. It has a 127. It's hanging out down there at number 26, and it should be lower. So even though I don't know if I've ever seen Red Heat, I'm voting for that because Terminator Genesis is a steaming pile of shit.
I don't know if I've seen either.
I don't know if I've seen Red Heat, but I know I saw Genesis. Saw it in the theaters. So that's getting my vote because I've seen that one.
Oh, which is going to force you to vote for a movie you've never seen.
All right. Bring it on.
What are you voting
Red
for?
Heat.
Red Heat, okay. All right. Now we have the other Conan movie, Conan the Destroyer, which has a 138, so much, much worse thought of than Conan the Barbarian, versus Expendables 2.
Oh, Expendables.
That has a 184, so very highly thought of. It's actually the 10th movie on the list.
I like the Expendables franchise. That's one of my. It's right up there for me with the franchises I have no problem rewatching. So I'm going Expendables on this one.
Sure, I'll say
Okay.
Expendables.
Expendables it is. I think I would have voted that one as well.
When are we getting the all-female Expendables?
Expendables?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's...
In the
Um,
works.
Now we're up to two of, not as weird as Junior, but two of the stranger ones. I think I know which way we're going to vote for it, but we have to go ahead and talk about it anyway. We have Maggie at 169, which is the Arnold zombie movie, versus the movie that's I'm going to go ahead and assume is going to win, Twins,
Yeah.
which oddly enough is pretty low on the list at 18, 154.
Wow.
Have you seen Maggie?
Yes.
It's not awful,
No.
but
But for
it got a bad luck on the draw here.
yeah, it did. I love zombie movies. I love Arnold movies. I didn't really love the two of them together. I thought for a zombie movie with Arnold in it, there was not a lot of action.
Right.
Which
Very story driven.
yeah, which I don't know. I mean, maybe like maybe that's my fault for thinking it's Arnold, but we should get a lot of action. But you know, we didn't. I'm going Twins because that one's iconic.
Yeah.
Twins.
Twins.
Still waiting for triplets.
With Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Who knows if that'll ever happen at this point. All right, now to the movie that you were thinking of for 6th Day, End of Days,
Yeah.
the Arnold versus the Devil movie where he fought Satan himself,
Whoa.
versus the movie that I thought would be number one on the list, Terminator 2, with a 252, which somehow only has a 91 on Rotten Tomatoes, where the other Terminator, the first Terminator, had 100.
Crazy.
I don't know if there's going to be a lot of debating on this one.
I don't think. Yeah, I mean, for me, I know it's Terminator 2. I mean, come on, it's one of the greatest. It's if it's not the greatest sequel of all time, it's up there in the top, and it's also probably one of Arnold's best movies. So
Totally.
Yeah.
okay, but End of Days is one of the very few Arnold horror-based movies. So
I haven't seen it. I'll
It's
have to check
not
it out.
bad.
yeah,
Sounds cool.
went and saw that one in the theaters. So
It doesn't beat Judgment Day, but it's not bad.
Not much can beat Judgment Day.
Judgment Day, is that the one where they're like in downtown Detroit?
T2.
Oh, Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Oh,
That Judgment Day.
that Judgment Day. Okay, I was thinking of a different movie. I forgot the Terminator 2 had a subtitle.
Yeah.
All right.
I have that on Steelbook.
Yeah, I just watched that not too long ago. I talked Jess into watching it with me. I don't. She didn't hate it.
She didn't like it, but she didn't hate it.
All right, so now we're back over here. Terminator, the first one versus Escape Plan.
Escape Plan.
Really?
Yep. Just to be difficult.
I mean, I'm voting Terminator.
Wow. I might.
No.
I was gonna say I might join Jeremy on this one, but I don't know.
It's you get to vote how you want. You can be as wrong as you want to be.
Man,
Escape Plan was solid.
it was, and I like Stallone, so those two together is always a good time. I don't know. I'm going Terminator.
Okay. all
As
right.
much as I like Escape Plan, I think it doesn't get enough credit.
All right.
But Terminator, you think of Undertaker? You think of Schwarzenegger, and you think Terminator.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're at Commando versus Expendables 3.
Ooh,
I'm going to say Commando.
I'm also gonna say Commando.
I would also say Commando.
All right. This one will be a fun one. Jingle All the Way versus Running Man. Two very different movies.
This one's pretty easy for me.
I would say Jingle All the Way on this one.
Same.
Oh wow. I don't think it's that easy because I love The Running Man, but I guess it's gonna go Jingle All the Way. All right. I had a feeling when I was putting this bracket that movie was gonna go pretty far. The 6th Day versus True Lies, which is also one of my all-time favorite Arnold movies. So I'm gonna let you two debate on that one. I'm voting True Lies.
I'm going same.
Yeah.
Okay.
You let us debate. We're gonna agree.
It's pretty heated.
That debate getting out of control.
All right. Total Recall versus Kindergarten Cop.
Ooh,
There's a little more debating.
Total Recall. That's where I'm
Kindergarten
going.
Cop.
I think I'm gonna go Total Recall. I do like Kindergarten Cop, but Total Recall, I didn't like the remake.
I think we saw the remake.
Kindergarten
together
Cop?
in
We
theaters.
did. Yes, we did. I think I fell asleep.
Wait, Total Recall or Kindergarten Cop?
Total Recall.
Total Recall. They did make an unnecessary sequel to Kindergarten Cop.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like Cable Guy or something.
I don't. It has none of the original people from the first one. I don't know. No, I thought Larry the Cable Guy did the Tooth.
Oh, you're right.
sequel.
Yeah. Someone. It was probably like a wrestler or
Yeah,
something.
somebody who had no business being in a movie that had no business being called a sequel. All right, but Total Recall is moving on. All right, Conan the Barbarian versus Terminator 3.
Conan.
Conan. Yeah, Terminator 3 wasn't as good as Terminator 2 was. Terminator 3 is kind of where that franchise starts falling apart.
That came in what, after Salvation? So there's 1, 2, Salvation, and then 3. Because he wasn't in Salvation.
No, I think Salvation came after Terminator 3. I think that was the first one that he wasn't in.
I thought. All right. I was gonna say I thought Salvation came between 2 and 3. We'll have to look that up.
All right, Red Heat versus Expendables 2.
Expendables 2.
I guess Expendables 2.
All right, I didn't really have an opinion, so I guess I'll go Expendables 2 as well. All right. This one's a tough one. Not very tough, but I think it might be. Twins versus Terminator 2.
Yeah, I don't know if this one's gonna be as tough as you think it is.
It was nice while it
Yeah,
lasted.
it was.
But
So Terminator 2?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, then. I don't know if we're heading towards the inevitable here, but we'll figure it out in a minute. Terminator versus Commando.
Ooh, Commando. One of my top Arnold movies. Since The Last Action Hero's already gone.
what do you think?
It's tough. I mean, Commando is an iconic Terminator Arnold movie, but Terminator is Terminator. I kind of would vote for Terminator.
Well, there's already going to be. I feel good about the other Terminator, so I'm going to say Commando.
Okay. So we're not heading towards the inevitable matchup, which I was. All right. I think I might flip a table on this one. Jingle All the Way versus True Lies.
Oh,
Well, I'm voting for Jingle All the Way, so I'm going to start out. Do whatever you want with that.
I don't want to be part of this kind. They're both really good. Oh, I've seen Jingle All the Way more because it's in my Christmas rotation.
Jingle All the Way is like one of my comfort movies at this point.
I kind of figured True Lies is one of my all-time favorites. He's all drugged out. He's got first I'm going to pick the locks, then I'm going to pick that up and I'm going to kill you.
I mean, it should be that movie moving on, realistically.
How many people have you killed? But they were all bad.
Ah, man.
But
It's.
Jingle All the Way.
I mean, okay, so
I think there's going to be a table being flipped.
okay, so Jingle All the Way goes on,
There we
and
go.
the table has now been flipped.
All the
Wow,
equipment's on the ground.
I'm shocked and dismayed, and this will be the last episode we ever. No.
There's been a lot of these in the last episode.
All right,
Always
total
the brackets that caused the last. This is the last episode.
Total Recall versus Conan the Barbarian.
Total Recall.
Total Recall.
Total Recall.
Clean sweep.
Yep. A battle of the sequels: Expendables 2 versus Terminator 2.
I think it's still pretty easy at this point.
Yeah.
Terminator 2.
Terminator. Expendables is a good franchise. Terminator 2,
Okay.
though, that's iconic Arnold.
So this is not exactly the final four that I envisioned. Commando versus Jingle All the Way and Total Recall versus Terminator 2 for our final four. So let's start off with Commando versus Jingle All the Way.
It's still tough.
Yeah, it's between those two.
I mean, all right, between these two, I would vote Jingle All the Way. I'm not thrilled that Jingle All the Way is here.
Wow.
Between these two,
Between these two, I would vote Jingle All the Way.
I would vote Commando.
I feel like I have to vote Jingle All the Way now just because it's got the other vote. Like,
So does Commando. It's got the
I
other
know,
vote.
but like I didn't think you would vote for Jingle All the Way. Jingle All the Way. I want it
okay.
to go on. I need it to go on.
All right. This is not the final I predicted, but we still have to figure out who else is in the final. Total Recall or Terminator 2.
I still think I'm gonna go with Terminator 2 on this one.
I'm like, I'm gonna go with Total Recall on this one.
I am going Terminator 2. It is just that good.
So I got outvoted on both of the finals.
Yes, you did.
Shocking.
All right. I'll
so
just leave now. I see how this is.
in the final that I did not see coming,
I did not see that coming.
normally as I'm writing the bracket, I try to play it out in my head.
You can't play out what we're gonna think.
I really can't, especially you. Like, I never know how this is going to go, but I try to kind of. It's not surprising that Terminator 2 is in the final.
Final round.
And I knew that Jingle All the Way would go far. I just didn't think we'd see it in the final. But let's go ahead and figure out what is the best Arnold movie. The Christmas classic Jingle All the Way with Sinbad. Or Terminator 2, one of the greatest sequels / action movies of all time.
Okay. We're all the good times are.
Yeah, I feel like this being a final, this is probably one of the easiest ones.
Yeah.
Like,
Terminator 2.
yeah.
Okay.
For
all
sure.
As much as we all like Jingle All the Way, it's
All
not
right.
going all the way. It's coming up short. Like
So-
getting that Turbo Man, day late and $1 short.
In what should be a surprise to nobody when we're talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, we have determined that Terminator 2 is the best of them.
Flawless victory.
I mean, I was shocked as I was doing it to see some of the movies that were as high on the list as they were. Like, I really didn't expect to see Terminator 3 as high because I thought people hated it.
Yeah.
I was really shocked that Jingle All the Way was as low as it was because I know a lot of people who absolutely love that movie, the two of you included. I mean, I like it, but not as much as you two do. I mean, Batman and Robin is so bad that it was in the play-in bracket. Not in,
Yeah.
But that's not shocking.
Yeah.
You know, it's also surprising to me that there's only a handful of these movies that I haven't seen. So apparently I've watched a lot of Arnold.
Yeah.
Same.
While I was rewatching The Running Man, he looks at somebody and goes, "I'll be back." And I'm like, man, he just says that in like every movie. Like that's it. Like his one-liners are epic, but apparently "I'll be back" is like his catchphrase.
I mean, it works in multiple scenarios. You're just leaving, I'll be back. Get to the chopper.
Get your ass to Mars.
Yeah. What did it have as the lowest one on there?
The lowest score.
Without the play-in, because we knew our
Without
play-in was bad.
That would have been number 31, End of Days, 103. I mean, I guess technically if we left off the three movies that like we had never even really ever heard of, Iron Mask, The Villain, and Hercules in New York, the lowest one would have. And I did contemplate just leaving those three off because I knew that none of us had seen them, let alone even heard of them.
Iron Mask sounds familiar when you said with Jackie Chan.
Yeah, but it would have been Batman and Robin at 79. That would have been, which I think we've talked about Batman and Robin before when we've done like worst comic book movies.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that one went pretty far in that bracket because it is one of the worst comic book movies. He has done he obviously sticks to action, because when you look at this, most of them are action oriented, but you do get the random like what should have been an action movie but was more of a think piece in Maggie, because it was a zombie movie. He does dabble with horror every so often with Maggie and End of Days, and I mean even some of the Conan movies kind of dabble in that. So he's pigeonholed into being the action star, but he does occasionally try to actually act and not just give one-liners. So
yeah.
Good on Arnold. Love to have you on the podcast one of these days. Tell us what we got wrong about your movies, or if you agree with us that Terminator 2 was your favorite movie of all time. Anybody watch anything of note the last week or so?
Terrifier.
Nice. Finally checked that one out,
Yeah,
I also finally checked out Terrifier.
Wow.
And there's definitely a reason for that, because we are gearing up for our Halloween 31 for 31.
Heck
Bringing
yeah.
that back.
It's going to be an action-packed year. Got a lot of variety for you. And
Is it going to be as action-packed as an Arnold movie?
I mean, those are some very high standards, but we're going to try.
All right.
We are definitely going to try. As far as what I watched, other than that, though, I can't really come up with a lot. I did watch something. Hold on, guys. The new season of Practical Jokers has been okay so far. I do come home and I watch. Oh, that's what I watched. That 90s show, part 3.
Oh yeah, I still haven't watched part 2 yet.
I haven't watched part 1 yet.
I feel like they have been really nailing it. Like, I've been enjoying it a lot, and it's getting better as it goes. Like, they're finding like kind of their rhythm, and they have a lot of callbacks, but they don't rely on callbacks entirely. And the tone is just like, it just feels like the same tone, but like it's fresh. I don't know how to I can't describe it any better than that. I'm really enjoying it.
I'll have to check that out. I did enjoy part 1. When it came out, I burned through that pretty quick. It was enjoyable. It was a fun time. Definitely had some of the same feels as that 70s show.
Yeah. That's all I got.
I watched the last preseason football game, getting ready for the regular season.
Oh yeah.
So I watched that. Now I'm ready for real football to start.
Real football is starting soon, because I got my draft coming up here pretty soon. So, got to see if I can't defend my title, since I won last year's championship. So I got to see if I can't win it all again this year, or not make the playoffs. So, all right. Well, I guess if you're the critics and you hated Jingle All the Way, listen back to this episode and find out why Stupid never walks alone.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Comic books have been around for almost a century, and in the last 2 decades, we've finally gotten to see many of these characters brought to life in movies and on TV. On the Moving Panels podcast, we discuss movies and TV shows based on, inspired by, and adapted from the world of comic books. Join me and my guests as we discuss both the good and the bad from Marvel, DC, and even some of the lesser-known comic book companies. Learn what is and isn't from the comics, as well as our nerdy review of the movie or show. New episodes drop every Monday, and you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. So join us for Moving Panels, and I'll see you on the other side of the page.
Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and listen to an 80s Flick Flashback podcast once in a while, you could miss it. Do you love movies of a certain age? Do you miss the days of VHS tapes, VCRs, and the video rental stores? Does the thought of another 80s movie being remade seem inconceivable? My name is Tim Williams. I'm the creator and host of the 80s Flick Flashback podcast. On each episode, I'm joined by guest co-hosts to discuss one of the many movies released in the 1980s. We share our first-time watch memories, our favorite scenes, and even learn some behind-the-scenes stories about the cast and crew along the way. New episodes are released every other Friday on your favorite podcasting platform. So make like a tree, get out of here, and go listen to an excellent episode of the 80s Flick Flashback podcast. The ad is over. Go home. Go.